Anything I get in, I want to master and I want to do better than anyone. My fuel to the fire all year long is I'm going to beat someone that has been doing this forever. My phone starts going off. I look over and it's Dale and he's calling me. You can't get comfortable in these situations because you never know when your last win's going to be. So you better learn how to lose before you learn how to win.
California's Kevin Harvick does it.
Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, presented by NASCAR on Fox. And today we have our 2025 Late Model Stock Cars Tour champion, Landen Lewis, in the studio. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably one of those interviews where I have to go back and say, okay, I probably shouldn't ask that. I probably know too much about all the things about you to get too far in depth. So we'll leave some of that stuff to not talk about today, but talk about Saturday night and everything that went down. I know you had a lot of nerves and a lot of pressure, but that's really what the Late Model Stock Series is for, and what we've created on the Cars Tour side. It's still really intense in order to deal with all the pressure. Yeah,
I mean, Saturday night was just, it was a super cool moment to be a part of. And it really honestly just starts with Friday, and really the whole week. Honestly, the whole week I was like, man, this is super cool to have this opportunity to race for a championship. And, you know, everyone's, again, it's late model racing, but it's not your typical late model series. I mean, this is the best series in the country, in my opinion, to be a part of. And, you know, all week just made sure every nut, every bolt, everything on the race car was going to be the most prepared as it possibly could be, just to eliminate all the excuses, I guess you could say, of, oh, this happened or that happened, and really just making sure that I did my job correctly and do my studying, do the things that I needed to do behind the scenes to give myself the best shot as possible, and all my guys as well. So it was just super cool to be a part of, and it's cool to be at North Wilkesboro with the championship race. That was awesome. Just super cool experience.
Yeah, and I think when you go and you look at, we talk on the show a lot, you know, racing is a lot different than what it used to be. And I think for me, we would never have run this car full time if it wasn't for you. And I think that, you know, giving you the opportunity to go out and showcase who you are as a driver and a person has been as much fun for the guys working on your car, and Rodney Childers, who helped us with the late model program while he was in between jobs, I guess is the best way to put it. But to a lot of people that listen to this show, they hear us talk a lot about the current generation. For me, the most fun thing to be a part of about this situation is you can hang the body, you can put the whole car together, you set up the car, you and Miles, you're talking through the setups, you're driving it to the racetrack, you're delivering golf carts during the week, you're washing golf carts during the week, you're running errands. Where did that work ethic come from, as far as learning how to work on the cars, knowing that you were going to have to work on the cars? Because to me, the thing that I would tell most people is the reason that you got this opportunity is because of your work ethic and who you are. So where did that start?
Yeah, I mean, first off, you know, I didn't really know that was the reason why we went and ran full time. You know, what you just said of my hard work and all that stuff. It's normal to me. You know, I grew up in a family that, you know, I was told that if you want something, you got to work for it, and you got to work hard for it. And that's kind of how I was, you know, brought up in life. And, you know, there was times when I was a kid sitting upstairs trying to play video games. My dad's like, no, this isn't how that's going to work. We're going to be in the shop. When we were go-kart racing, you know, my dad's like, you're going to be in the shop learning everything that you possibly can. And then it kind of fell over to when I got hooked up with Ron. And he told me from the very beginning that if you're going to do this as a career, you're going to have to understand every part, every piece, how to put these things together when you wreck them. You're going to have to understand how to do that, because the guys respect that. And that's the biggest thing for me, is just earning that respect to my guys that, hey, if I destroy this race car tonight, don't worry, Monday morning, I'll be in there to fix it with you guys. So, you know, the work ethic part of it, I think, just comes from my family. Just brought me up to, you know, hard work. Like that's what it takes to get to, you know, what you want to do in life. And obviously your hard work and behind the scenes of helping me just grow into a better person, and Ron and Delana with my interview help and all the stuff that, you know, it takes to be a race car driver, but a good person in general too. So I think that's where the hard work part comes from, is just my family, of how they brought me up.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the tour and you look at everything that comes with what you guys have done this year on the racetrack, off the racetrack, and all those things, when you look at Butterbean and Lane Riggs and all the guys that are getting the opportunities to go race in ARCA or the trucks, or Carson in the Xfinity car, what makes late model stock racing? I mean, I agree with you. I think we have the best
Yeah,
late model
100%.
series in the country. But now everybody wants to come here and race because they're real opportunities. And what do you think makes that late model stock make you so prepared for the next level?
Man, I think it's, you got guys like Lee Pulliam, you got Philip Morris, you got all these guys that grew up, racing late model stocks, and it's hard. I mean, they do this for a living. That's, how they put food on the table. And, we talked about this at the shop a couple weeks ago with Rodney, and he's like, I think the biggest difference from, where racing is now to where the short track level still is, if these guys don't win races, they don't put food on the table for their families. And, I never really thought of it that way until he brought that up. And I'm like, that's a pretty true statement. Without winning races and running good, they don't sell things. They don't sell parts. They don't sell race cars. They don't sell those things. And, that's a little different than what the NASCAR ranks are now. They don't have chassis builders that, are trying to build race cars to sell. And I think that's the biggest difference. And it's just tough. I mean, late model stock racing, I remember my first time getting into late model stock. I went and tested at Hickory, and I thought I was pretty decent. I remember going there and helping you at North Wilkesboro, and I thought that was something I wanted to do, and went to Hickory. I thought I was pretty decent, and then we showed up and qualified on the pole, my first ever Carster race. I'm like, all right, like I know what I'm doing here. I got this, the world by my hands, like right here in my hands. And first race, I missed about every shift I possibly can miss on every restart. I clogged up the field, and everyone thought didn't know what I was doing, and I really didn't belong in the Cars Tour. And from that moment on, it was work. I had to work for it. I had to do everything I possibly could, talking to you, talking to Josh Berry, talking to Lane Riggs, you name it. Lee Pulliam, that was another guy that I went to so much because, they mastered it, and I wanted to know how to master it. And they've helped me a ton to attempt to master it. I haven't mastered it yet, but that's my goal. Is anything I get in, I want to master, and I want to do better than anyone.
How important was that part-time year last year to be able to prepare you for this year?
I mean, it's really what helped me, conquer this year, really. There was moments throughout that year that I thought I knew what I was doing, and then I got, punched in the face a little bit that I didn't know what I was doing. And it helped me learn how to work on the race car, how to understand the parts, the shocks, the springs, the bump stops, all these things that go on the race car that, make it go in a circle. And that part helped me a ton. I think, growing last year was probably my biggest thing. We ended up winning one race last year, and I was a part of the 29 group a little bit last year as well when I wasn't racing, and we won a couple races, and, everything was going good. And then right there towards the end of the year, I won my first race, and I'm like, all right, like I finally won a race. Like, let's do this. Now I got my feet on the ground and I can start running. And the next races after that, I ran dead last, and I was terrible. And I'm like, well, never mind. I don't know what I'm doing. So then, this year I won my first race at Ace right there at the beginning of the year. And I was like, man, that was the first time that I've ever had a dominant race car. And I actually pulled away from the field, and I was like, okay, like now I think I know what I need in my race car to go fast. And then we turned around a week later and went and dominated Wilkesboro, and it's like, all right, like now I know what I'm doing. Like, let's keep this going. But then it's, 2 weeks later, I'm getting slapped in the face again. Like, hey, you need to get it back together. You don't really know what you're doing yet. So there was moments of growing and learning and how to do everything the right way.
And it came all the way down to the end of the year.
Yeah.
With that 1 week good, 1 week bad, winning, not winning, crashing, whatever the scenario was, all those things that come with racing. But you raced Connor Hall all the way to the end of the season. What type of competitor was he to race against? I mean, it got a little rough over the last couple races, but what was that like off the racetrack with him? I don't know him well, but I'm interested to see what that was like.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, racing against someone that, I think he said in an interview at one point that he started racing late models in 2006, and that's when I was born. Yeah. So he's been doing this for a very, very, very long time. And I knew going into this year when we kind of got 3 or 4 races in that we were pretty good in points. And I'm like, okay, we got a shot to go and chase after a championship. And I knew that was the guy that we're going to have to chase after all year long. You know, that the 88's been good every single year. And they somehow find their way up front every single time, no matter where they start in the race. So racing against Connor and being around Connor was something that honestly pushed me. Like, you know, he has a type of way that, you know, he doesn't talk much. He's not a very vocal person. So I kind of use that as fuel to the fire a little bit throughout the year that, hey, he's kind of upset that I'm, you know, a 19-year-old racing against him, and he's been doing this for a long time. And I've heard in interviews that, you know, he was driven by, you know, he wanted to win. Like, you know, Dale expected him to win. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm going to do my best to not make you win. Like, that's my fuel to my fire of like, you know, what do I need to do to push harder and beat him? And that was my fuel to the fire all year long is I'm going to beat someone that has been doing this forever just to show that I belong here.
And you pair that with what's been the dominant team.
Yeah,
and
100%.
One of the dominant teams in late model stock racing with Junior Motorsports and everything they've done. Came all the way down to the end, and it was intense.
It was intense. You know, through the middle of the year there, I felt like, you know, we had a shot to win 6 or 7 races, and we were running really good all year long. And then it came down to 2 races that really jeopardized us a lot, and those are 100% my fault. You know, I went to Caraway and we started 7th. We drove to the field, had the best race car I've ever had in a long time. And I got to the lead, restart with 25 to go, and I drove right over my head and made a stupid mistake that I really regret. And, you know, then I turned around 2 weeks later and went to Hickory for $50,000 to win. And, you know, you can tell the intensity was in the air, and it came down to 10 to go on a restart, and I made another mistake. And I'm like, man, like, what do I do to not make these mistakes? Like, you know, this is kind of embarrassing, honestly.
You make them.
Yeah. Like,
the only way to learn from them is to make them.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, this is embarrassing. Like, I don't know why I keep doing this. And it took sitting down with Rodney, sitting down with all my guys on a Monday morning at the shop. And after Hickory, we ended up wrecking, and I had a jet ski trip planned that we do every year, and we go down to Key West to, you know, we ride jet skis from Fort Lauderdale to Key West, and that's something we've done 2 years in a row now. Well, I had it planned. I was going to leave. You know, times are tough. I already booked my plane flight because, you know, it rained on Saturday, so I had to cancel my flight. It was just a whole big deal, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. Well, we wrecked, and I'm like, what do I do now? Like, I have to be there for these guys. You know, these are rough 2 weeks for these guys, and you know what? I was driving home that night from the racetrack, and I'm like, I'm going to cancel it. I'm gonna stay at the shop. I'm gonna work with these guys. You know, they bust their butt 24/7. They're not home with their families. Like, you know, I don't have a family that's up here, so it's a little different for me. Yeah. And I stayed here. I worked, and we showed up at Anderson. We won. We showed up at Florence. We won, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. And then, like you said, it came down to the last race of just a stressful day. It was very stressful for me, very emotional for me. I started bawling when I got in the car, and having you come up to my door and telling me, you know, you just go do your thing. It kind of honestly calmed me down like a lot. And I just, I thank you for that. You know, it's been a great year.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't, if you're not in that moment to understand that adrenaline rush and all the anxiety and everything that goes with those moments. But those are moments that you have to experience 100%. In order, because the pressure just keeps ramping up, right? And learning how to deal with that is not easy. No,
it's not. And I spent the day yesterday just trying to enjoy it. And I told Delana actually this story earlier that, you know, I was sleeping. I got home at 4:00 in the morning. I'm in the bed, and my phone starts going off, and I'm like, you know, why is my phone going off this early? Like, I kind of was going to sleep in a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I look over, and it's Dale, and he's calling me. And I jump out of the bed. I'm wiping my eyes out, trying to wake up. And he answers the phone, and I was like, what's up? He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I just woke up. You know, I got home at 4:00 in the morning. And he's like, you know, he tells me good job. And I'm like, man, this is so cool to live that moment because, you know, my mentor, Ron, he got that phone call from Dale Sr. and I got a phone call from Dale Jr. And I'm like, man, that's freaking awesome to be a part of. So I went to Ron yesterday and told him the story, and he started crying, and he was so emotional about it because he's like, my call was, you know, to come out here and race for Dale Earnhardt Sr. And I got a phone call yesterday morning from Dale Jr. And I thought that was so cool. And he's like, Landon, I want to tell you this now that it's over with. He goes, you don't understand how hard and bad I wanted to help you get through this moment. He goes, but there's not words that I could have told you to help you. He's
That's
like,
right.
you don't understand until you actually live it. And I lived it on Saturday night, and it was stressful, but it was pretty cool to be a part of.
Yeah, and I think I raced this weekend, but I think that it was pretty intentional to not come around the trailer, come around the car. And Dale said that, right? Like you just have to experience those moments. You have to live those moments to be able to understand how to deal with them.
Yeah, for sure.
And the other thing that it does, when you have a good thing going, I learned when we had our trucks and our Xfinity cars, like I would just stand back, right? Because the chemistry and everything that you have going on, all you do is disrupt it.
Right.
And it just interferes with everything showing everybody showing up on championship weekend.
Yeah.
You got more people in the trailer, you got more people around, you got more pressure on yourself, and you're like, get these damn people out of here. I don't want to be around more people.
It was definitely a lot for sure.
Yeah.
Have all your sponsors there and all the people that, want to see you succeed. So it was definitely cool to be a part of. And like you said, like you don't really come around much because you don't want to be in the way. Yeah. But we do know as a group at the shop, when Kevin does whirl into the shop, he's there to fix something because there's something that he doesn't think's right. Yeah. So, we're listening and we're trying to just pay attention as much as possible because, like I told you yesterday when I sent you that text was, I want to be like you one day with the knowledge and the experience that you have and how to be a problem solver. And I feel like that's why you were so good is you're just so good at problem solving. And Rodney said the same thing. We were at a racetrack one weekend and I started telling him about the car and I told him about 10 different things that I needed to be fixed. And he's like, listen, at some point we can fix only one thing. Like we can't fix 10 things at once. He's like, that's why Kevin was so good was he was able to explain the one thing that he needed to be fixed to go fast.
Start at the top.
Yeah. So
start with the biggest
there
problem.
Was moments throughout the year when I started rambling on, I need this, I need that, I need this. And he's like, whoa. Remember what I told you? And I'm like, crap, my bad. Let me fix that real quick. So like you said, you don't really come around much, but when you do, we listen because, you're going to fix the problem that we need to be fixed. Yeah.
And, I think it's, I've had to come around a lot less this year because you guys have had it under control. and I think when you mentioned Rodney, Miles has done a great job
100%.
with learning. He was my shock guy on the 4-card. Had never been a crew chief in his life. And now you guys are hanging bodies and doing everything for the most part yourself in the shop, which has been fun to watch everybody learn, but it's always fun to kind of trial by fire. Right?
It is. I mean, we've learned a ton this year. I mean,
learned a ton.
I was telling your bus driver actually yesterday, nervous.
Bus driver works on the car too.
He works on the car. Yeah. And I was telling him yesterday, I said, it's so cool of what we've done in 2 years with this organization. And I've tried to be there since the beginning and I've missed a couple races, but it's just so cool what we've done in the last 2 years. I mean, I was telling him at one point last year, we didn't even have a bolt bin in the shop. I mean, we were running a Fastenal, running an SRI to get bolts every 2 seconds. And we were trying to build these things with grade 5 bolts. And we're like, what are we doing? Like we need to put grade 8 bolts on these things. And, we finally got our bolt bin this year. Like we're moving on and up in the world. So it was just super cool to see every part, every piece on those race cars get put on. And the growing that we did this year was super cool.
How is Rodney? It's just really unique. Rodney was the reason that we bought the late model stock and went and ran the race because of his passion for late model stock racing. Kind of in and out with Lane and Josh Berry and getting their relationship kicked off, or when they started working together at Stewart Haas Racing, and then things changed and Josh went his way. Josh has stayed as a mentor for you and very. Much has a lot of experience on the late model stock side, but obviously you guys have become friends and talk a lot. But how has Rodney helped not only you but the whole group just understand?
I mean, how to race? That's been a very common question here lately. Since he came over after everything that went down, and really. The setup side of it hasn't really changed much. We haven't done anything very spectacular to change the way the cars are driving or anything. It's really just the communication, the how to put a season together.
The mental warfare.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, it's just mentally, you have to be strong in this sport. And he's just, you guys won a cup championship together. You guys won 40 races. You guys won a lot of races together. And he knows how to put a weekend together. And that's the biggest thing is I think we were lacking is how to put a weekend together, how not to over adjust on the car when we feel like we're far off, but we're really not that far off. And he's just so good at putting a weekend together and putting a season together. And, he just helped me process through everything. I mean, there was multiple Mondays after a weekend that I'd be calling him, hey, what do I need to do different? He's like, I don't really think you need to do anything different. I think you're doing just fine. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. But I feel like as a person, I need to do something
Yeah.
different. Just trying to be better. You know, that's the biggest thing is you can't get comfortable in
Yeah.
the situation you're in. You know, I caught myself throughout the year getting comfortable. And I show up the next weekend and I struggle. And I'm like, whoa, like you can't get comfortable in these situations because Ron's always told me you never know when your last win's going to be, and you never know when your last championship's going to be. So you better learn how to lose before you learn how to win. And that was something that it made pretty much sense this year. There was moments where we were on top of the world, and there was moments we were below zero, down underneath the world. So
Right.
just understanding that emotional roller coaster and how to process it.
So where did all this start? Like, how did you get involved in racing?
Really, you know, I grew up around racing. I grew up at Myrtle Beach Speedway, which is super cool. I actually got to
pretty
race.
Fortunate.
Yeah, I actually got to race there the last year before they closed it down.
Really?
So it was super cool to do that, and I actually got to race with my grandpa. So that was really cool. So I'm the fourth generation to race. I grew up at a racetrack since I was born. My dad actually took me to a go-kart track when I was 4 years old, and we just kind of hit it off from there. And he was still racing at that time, and he kind of just set everything to the side for me and really pushed me. And I got hooked up with Jonathan Cash, which actually ran the modified race this weekend. He was there, so that was pretty cool to take that picture together. And actually, Landen S. Huffman, which we sat on the front row with him. I was teammates with him for a long time. And I was super close with Shane Huffman and that whole group. So it was pretty cool to kind of relive that moment of being on the front row together. So raced go-karts for a long time. And he finally told my dad, like, hey, it's time to move him on up. Like, I think he's got it. And we went up here actually to do a banquet for one of the races we won. And my dad, we were driving. I'm like, Dad, where are we going? He's like, we got to go get something. I'm like, okay. Well, we pull down this hill, and there's this little house on top of the hill, and there's this garage at the bottom of the hill. I'm like, where are we at? And he's like, I got to pick up something. Okay. He's like, get out of the truck. So I walk in there, and it's Ron. And I'm like, Hornaday. And I'm like, this is freaking cool. Like, why are we here, Dad? And he's like, well, see that modified right there? I'm going to buy it. And you're going to go to the dirt track, and we're going to learn how to dirt race. And I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. Ron was building dirt modifieds at the time.
Right.
And he had a couple races going with Billy Workman, which is another mentor of mine. And Ron went to the first race. We didn't test. We didn't do nothing. We just went to the racetrack. And Ron's like, if he's going to learn how to do it, he's going to learn how to do it in a race situation. So from that point on, Ron just stuck with me. And, again, like he invited you into his house and you slept on the couch and all those famous stories that everyone's heard. He invited me in just like he did you. And just became family to me. And that's kind of how this whole process has worked. And then we went legend car racing with Joe Ryan, which is now his son-in-law. And it was super cool to do that. Won some races. And that's kind of honestly how I got hooked up with you. Ron, I guess, talked to you about Keelan and the legend car. And we went to Anderson first time, went testing with him. And we just kind of hit it off from there. And we started racing legend cars a lot and won a couple races and did very well.
That's pretty. I think that's underdoing it a little bit.
I got to keep it below ground, but won a couple races with the legend car stuff, and that's what led to the late models and started working there. And I remember my first day at KHI in the race shop. Joe sent me a text message that morning. He's like, "Hey, thank you for everything you did for me because I worked there full time as well, and I was getting homeschooled at the time. So you lived?
Did you live?
I lived with Joe for a long time, and I still live with Candace. And I worked for Joe for 5 years and learned how to work on those things and I remember my first day, one of my first days, I destroyed a car and he's like, listen, you're going to learn how to fix this thing. So he made me strip the car all the way down. It took me 2 weeks to build this thing. It took me 2 weeks. Now I can build it in a couple of days, but it took me 2 weeks to do it. And from that point on, I learned how to put every bolt, every nut on that race car. And that's what taught me. And it's the same thing that happened with the late model stuff. I just learned how to build them. And now I can kind of do it without any help, which is super cool to, know that.
Yeah. Well, it's rare in today's world that the driver knows how to build the whole car. So I think that when you know how to put them all together, you can definitely relate to things a lot better. So that is a good thing. And I think that was good on your dad and Hornaday and all of them for making you work on all that stuff. Yeah, and it's the same
thing like we're trying to teach Keelan, right? I mean, Keelan, he had that big wreck out in Vegas and he was at the shop working and learning how to work on his race car and fix it. And that's something that when he comes to the shop, it's not just picking up the broom like any other typical new employee. We try to get him in there and get dirty and get a little grease on his hands. So it's cool
and
to
eventually
share
wind
that
up
as well.
playing football.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or
So
on the moped or on the dirt bike.
What's next? I know we're going to run some late model stock races together. What's next for you?
Yeah, so we actually just signed a contract 2 weeks ago to go truck racing. So I'm going to go truck racing with Nice Motorsports. I have 15 races with them, and I get to share the truck with 2 Cup guys. So I think that'll be really cool for me to learn from those guys. And I'm just, I think that's really why I was just so emotional, really, all day on Saturday, because I knew I'm kind of getting emotional right now talking about it.
Don't
but,
do that. Yeah. You should be happy.
I am. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Inside, I'm happy. But I think that was why I was so emotional at the racetracks, because I knew that was kind of my last full-time season with you guys. And, like you said, we're going to run a couple races next year together. But we're going to go truck racing next year and try to learn something new. Again, it's a steady work. You have to keep working, and I'm excited to get over to Nice Motorsports with Cody and all the guys and just start learning as much as possible. And next process is learn how to build a truck, and that's my next thing. I want to learn how to do that because I want to be right there with all my guys throughout this next year's season and learn how to fix them, learn how to work on them, and all those things. So super excited for that.
Well, you're another graduate of the Cars Tour to be able to win late model stock races and get your next opportunity in the truck series in a national touring division. But when I think of Nice Motorsports and I look at the opportunities that they have given up and coming drivers, I mean, it's very unique. I mean, Al has always kind of had that knack for being able to put drivers in. Obviously, ownership group, is a little bit different than what it was in the past, but still giving kids the opportunity to come in there and earn it. And
super cool.
Fits right in with who you are as a person. But that's been the backbone of Nice Motorsports for a number of years, giving kids the opportunity to go out there and show who they are to get to the next step.
Yeah, that's. I think that's one of the main reasons why I'm super excited to get over there. Just because, like you talked about, they give people shots that don't have the money, don't have all this stuff to bring to the table. They do that for kids like that, and we talk about Carson Hocevar, Ross Chastain, all those guys that have graduated out of that truck deal and have went on to do big and better things. And I'm hoping I'm one of those guys eventually. It's just. I remember my first time really talking to Cody at Darlington. Actually, after the night we won Florence, I stayed with Rodney in the motorhome and actually got to go and watch the truck race. And I talked to Cody, and he's like, "Listen, the biggest thing is we're not the big flashy team that have all these nice things." He goes, "We're just hardworking country boys that want to win races and do well." And I'm like, I think this is where I want to belong because that's how, we are as a group. We take pride in our late model side of it, and we make sure everything's as nice as possible. And I think that's what they do over there. So I'm super excited to get over there.
And Ross Chastain has been a huge supporter of yours. And, I think when you look at work ethic, I mean, you talk about the work ethic that comes with Nice Motorsports, but when you look at work ethic, Ross Chastain will outwork anyone. You look at the way that he got to where he is. It's obviously not a normal path, but he earned every piece of it. But being around Ross and seeing the time and effort that he puts into what he does in the Cup car on and off the racetrack, I think that is going to be a great person to be around at Nice, because he's been in the trenches. He's been at the top. And so, I think that whole environment fits you well. So congratulations on that. You've earned every piece of that. So it'll be a fun year. We're still going to run some late model stock races.
Late model side. Looking forward to that.
And I think that, the great part about what you do, you've also been coach. You've coached, you've helped Keelan every step of the way in what he's done. But it's not just Keelan. I mean, you've been in that legend car, pit area helping and coaching, and even when you wanted to be out there racing, you were the guy over there
for sure,
helping everybody else. I watched you last weekend come over and bring the laptop and stick it inside Isaac Kitzmiller's car to show him what he needed to do better on the racetrack, and that quality that you have to be able to go out and help people also teaches you a lot about what you need to do
Yeah,
as a driver
100%.
because you see things. And some of the best things that you can do come outside of the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And I think that you spend a lot of time doing that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I do spend a lot of time helping all the kids, and obviously we'll talk about Keelan. I was super excited. I was nervous watching his race. Like
Yeah.
I was more nervous watching him win that race this past weekend than I was before I got in my race.
Yeah.
And I get so much joy from helping kids and watching them succeed and seeing the look on their faces when they get out and they're all pumped up. Like that's a cool moment for me. And I feel like I learn a lot from being on the outside sometimes. And
For sure.
and just like you said, I think a lot of it too is, kids and all these kids nowadays, they think of things way differently than what, some people do. And everyone thinks a little bit different in how they approach things, but it's helped me learn how to approach things differently and how to kind of slow down for a minute and be like, oh, I can tell this kid that, but I'm doing the same thing. So I got to be careful on what I say here. So
Right.
it's super cool. And I get a lot of joy and emotion from it. Being able to spot for Keelan a couple of times and being a spotter. And then actually was at the summer shootout this year and had 6 kids and I just worked on them. And we actually almost won the championship and one of my kids won 6 races. So it was super cool to be a part of. And I get a bunch of joy inside just watching the kids do well.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of different aspects to our wonderful world of racing. And the more that you know about each one of those different aspects, you've had to sell the sponsorship, you've had to coach the kids, you've had to drive the car, you've had to drive across the country at night. So you've earned everything that you're going to get with this truck opportunity. And I'm looking forward to watching you evolve and do exactly what you did in our car and in the Legend car. You watch, you learn, you grow and do those things. So last question. What was the first car you ever drove?
Well, I have a truck that is still my first truck. I'm only 19.
You're on the first one still.
Yeah, I'm still on the first
Okay.
one. So it's probably a little different than some of the people you get here.
Yeah,
But
you never know what you're going to hear.
I got a GMC truck that I drive, but I actually just got a beater. It's a Honda Civic. And I actually enjoy driving that thing more than I do my
Really?
truck. It gets 35 miles a gallon. I get 500 miles, and I fill it up for $30 on 93 every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I'm in the saving money part right now. And honestly, I enjoy driving that thing around town and give.
What are you saving for?
I don't know.
Just
I'm very cheap when it
Yeah.
comes to things, and I don't like spending money. So
Well, even when you make it, live like you're poor for
Yeah.
about the first 5 years. That way you forget about the money that you made.
yeah, I enjoy. I don't really care what people think about me, what I drive. I just, at the end of the day, I'm getting a race. I'm getting to do the things that every kid dreams about. And it's just super cool to do. And like you said, the truck deal is going to be something pretty cool for me next year. And just going to have to get back to work like I did this year and
Never
just
ends.
keep digging at it and put everything I got into making it work and be successful and hopefully move up.
Well, congratulations on everything, the championship, the truck ride, everything that you've got going on right now. And appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's pretty cool to do.